This is a disclaimer. This episode may contain graphic descriptions of crime and criminal activity. It may not be suitable for listeners under the age of 18 or for those who may find the descriptions as disturbing. Listeners' discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to another episode of Krime KE podcast. My good name is Stila Juma and I am very grateful that you took the time to listen in today. Now today we'll get into the murder of Mercy Kwamboka. Mercy was a second-year student at the University of Nairobi's Chiromo campus and she was pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. Her mysterious death happened in September last year and I remember there was a lot of victim blaming when her story hit the news. And I'm also calling it mysterious because there's still very little information that is out there on this case, even though it has been almost a year since it happened. Now, without further ado, let us get into today's episode, and please stick around until the end of this episode to find out how you can support this podcast. To begin the story of Mercy Kwamboka, I have to take you back to the night of 27th September 2024. Mercy and her family are at home in their house in the pipeline area of Embakasi in Nairobi. And at around 11 p.m., Mercy receives a call and her family says that she leaves the house in a hurry. They had no idea who had called her and caused her to leave in such a manner, or even that this would be the last time they would see her alive. Mercy did not return home that night, and when it got to morning, her family was worried. For many reasons, including the fact that she left in a hurry and they had not even been able to reach her since then. Her family began searching for her through her friends and acquaintances, but nobody could provide any information on her whereabouts. Her family reported her missing to the police as they continued to look for her. The search was unsuccessful until around 4 p.m. on September 28th of 2024, which was the next day. Mercy Kwamboka's dead body was found in a bush in the Mwiki area of Nairobi. Her body was half naked with visible injuries, which included acid burns on her hands. Trigger warning, the next few sentences are very graphic, so use your listeners' discretion. According to witnesses, Mercy's body was badly mutilated. She had bruises on her thighs, buttocks, and her left ankle, and her hands looked like they had been doused in acid. In an interview with Citizen TV, Mercy's mother described her daughter like this. She said, "Miguu yake ilikuwa imevunjwa kama miwa na mikono imemwagiliwa acid," which makes you wonder how much pain she must have endured leading up to her death and how sad it was for her family. One witness told the media that when he found Mercy lying there, he noticed that her phone was next to her and it had a 1,000 shilling note on the back. Police were called to the scene and they recovered several pieces of evidence. They recovered a blanket in which it was assumed that she was carried while being brought to the scene. I don't know if that sentence makes sense. Police were called to the scene and they recovered a blanket in which it was assumed that Mercy was carried in while she was being brought to the scene. They also recovered her phone, a black blouse, and one black shoe. An investigation was launched into her murder, and according to preliminary investigations, police say that Mercy's kidnappers really just intended to murder her because her belongings were recovered, so it was not a robbery. It was definitely not a robbery. Her postmortem showed that she had broken legs, bruises on several parts of her body, including her gums, and her hands were burnt. After three weeks of investigations, a forensic trail led the DCI to the Komarok area of Nairobi, where they arrested one Joseph Ngera Kamau. He was a 26-year-old Kenya Army soldier based in Embakasi, and he was arrested along with his colleague, Fred Madenge. The police say that they traced Joseph to his hideout in Komarok and Fred was picked up in the Tononoka area of Embakasi. Now, why were they arrested? DCI say that their investigation revealed that the two were the last known people to have been in contact with Mercy. Police say that on the night that she went missing, Joseph picked her up in his vehicle from Pipeline Embakasi and he drove her to his house in Komarok. When they got there was a misunderstanding between the two while they were in the parking lot. They believe that the confrontation ended with Joseph assaulting Mercy to death. They say that after she died, he called his accomplice, Fred, and sought his help in getting rid of her body. So while her family were in Embakasi, worried and searching for Mercy, these two were driving her to Mwiki to dump her body. The witnesses at the scene described seeing a car at the scene just hours before Mercy's body was found. So police seized Joseph's car to try to look for evidence. The investigation placed the two suspects at the scene, and the blanket used to wrap her was also linked to them. Now, at some point in the investigations, the two soldiers actually confessed to the crime, but they say that she fell and died after a confrontation. They even took the police to the crime scene, but they maintained that her death was purely accidental, which, personally, this is my opinion, I am finding really hard to believe, because if it was an accident, then call for help. Why are you trying to dump her body if it was actually an accident? We have come to the end of this episode. That is all I have for you on the story of Mercy, Rufansi Kwamboka's murder. There is still not much out about this case so far, but I will provide an update as soon as it is available. And normally I will do that through the podcast social media platforms. So if you're not following us on Instagram and TikTok, then you might be missing out on the updates. You can support Krime KE podcast by sharing this episode with your friends so that we can get a larger community to listen to these cases. I have tagged the podcast contact information and social media pages on the show notes of this episode so that it is easier for you to reach out if you have any feedback on this episode or the podcast in general. And by the way, we have a WhatsApp number. You can send in voice notes, suggest cases, and give feedback. I have noticed that not many of you know about it. I have put it in the show notes because I have not crammed it. And now, with all that said and done, do not forget to give the podcast a 5-star rating on Spotify and catch the next episode of Krime KE podcast on Thursday next week. But until then, stay safe and remember, it is crime with a K.